Hi, welcome to another video, and today we're looking at a change of direction drill, and actually firstly it's a crossover exercise or a movement skill really that helps someone in sports gain a huge amount of distance really quickly. It's by far the fastest way to gain ground without actually having to use a series of small steps. So I'm going to just play it and then we'll have a look at it in more detail. So basically asking Dylan to move to his right using a crossover move. Now there's a few things that are going on. We'll watch the first one. Alright, so he does a little split step, does his crossover move, does the change of direction and comes back. So the very first thing that he has to do is when he goes for his move, there's that little split step. So if I just take that back, you can see this very first thing that he does is when he goes to move, there's this little, see how his right leg will externally rotate, so his right hip, so that because he's going to run to his right, so he needs to have that to move out of the way so that he can plant on the left leg. Alright, so the left leg is the key to this, and that foot is very important. It must be planted in a parallel straight line. If it's turned out at all, he's going to have a huge loss of power, but probably worse than that, he's going to really torque the knee. This is where we see a lot of the tears happen. The other thing that he must do is he must stay low. You see how he is quite low? If he tries to stand up at all, he's going to have a loss of power, a loss of acceleration, and it's going to be even worse when he does the changeover. Now that right hip externally rotates, alright, so because he's pointing in the direction that he wants to move. His upper body should stay facing forward, because if he's on the sporting field, the play's coming towards him and he's looking to make a cut, either as evading or chasing, or he could be defending in basketball or something like that. So what happens from here is when he does the change, so if I just go back and you can see that little crossover, so once he plants off that left leg and then he gets huge acceleration, you can see how much distance he can cover with this crossover move. Look how much distance in one step he can gain. So he's gone from that line here all the way to there with one move. Alright, so just a huge plant from the left leg and then acceleration. You can see the glutes and that here and hip extension giving him huge acceleration. Now this is where, again, where the injuries happen, is from this point on, is where not necessarily that leg, it'll be this one. So this is the cutting move, and again that foot plant is everything, and staying low. See how he's really low? So that foot plant has to be dead parallel. If it turns out, that's where he's going to, when he comes back to push off this to give him a cut. So you see how he's in this really sort of quite low, he's got his hips back behind him. This is a perfect position to explode out of, so he can push back through there. So you can see how that little push back, so here's his change of direction to push back. You see how that left hip turns out again? So you can see how, watch that left hip there. So the left hip, then he stays low, gets a huge stiffness from there, explodes out and comes back. Alright, so this is such a powerful move in sports to gain huge distance from just moving more efficiently and using this crossover step. This crossover step is so powerful, but it must be done well. So like I was saying, the key is the foot plant, staying low, using that hip to externally rotate. So this is a great drill to practice with people. It's amazing how difficult people with poor movement find this. So if there's issues with lateral lunging, with foot stability, with hip stability, or not even being able to deadlift. So if you're too upright in this and you've got too much knee movement, from side on, you can't see Dylan here, but he's really in a almost not a true squat, but not a deadlift either. It's sort of a bit like that, where a squat would be a bit more upright. And a deadlift would be more like a vertical shin. So that's a deadlift. So he's not quite there, he's sort of halfway between. Alright, so this is the athletic position that gives him power to be able to do that explosive movement, especially the change of direction back. So when he's coming back, so it's not so much that, it's that bit there, this bit where we gets that plant, alright, to come back really fast. And we could add tubing to this to add reactivity training to it and all sorts of things, and introduce games. One of the best ways to make this faster is just tell a person to go further out. Try to make them go further out and do it as quick as they can. All right, so this is a great drill to include in your sports training, especially with juniors who are learning to move well, because we see so many injuries from just poor movement. They practice skills of the game, but they never practice moving well. So if you're slow on the sporting field, this is a great drill to include, and that'll help you become extremely fast. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that video, and we'll see you on the next one.